The Guinness World Records contains inspiring stories of human achievement. We will not be talking about any of those. Instead, you're about to witness 49 Americans who pursued records for things like pulling cars with their ears and drinking maple syrup for speed. This isn't a highlight reel of greatness, it's a medical chart of questionable decisions, all documented for a spot in a book. Prepare to ask why, a lot. 1. Most of us consider it a monumental achievement to solve a Rubik's Cube without peeling off the stickers. But for some people, that's just the warm-up. One American decided the puzzle wasn't challenging enough, so he added juggling to the mix. Yes, solving Rubik's Cubes while juggling them. This isn't just a party trick, it's a declaration of war on mediocrity. At what point does your brain operate on such a different level that you look at two incredibly difficult tasks and think, I should probably combine these? Meanwhile, the rest of us are still trying to figure out which remote controls the TV. 2. We all have goals. Some people want to run a marathon, others want to learn a new language. And then there are those who wake up and decide to pull an entire airplane using only their teeth. One man attached himself to a 220,000-pound aircraft and dragged it, cementing his place in history and likely terrifying his dental hygienist for life. Can you imagine that dental checkup? So, any new habits? Flossing regularly? Not towing commercial jets with your incisors? My teeth ache when I drink cold water, but this guy's out here treating a Boeing like a stubborn mule. His dental insurance premium must be higher than the plane he's pulling. 3. There's a fine line between bravery and a complete lack of survival instincts. A woman in the US decided to erase that line by living in a confined space with 1,000 scorpions for 4 months. Let that sink in. Not 1, not 10, but 1,000 venomous arachnids as her roommates. You have to wonder about the daily logistics. Is there a chore wheel? Who's responsible for taking out the trash? Imagine trying to find a midnight snack in the dark. It's less of a world record and more of a 4-month-long horror movie that she willingly signed up for. Most people would call an exterminator. She called Guinness. 4. Ketchup is a condiment. It's a supporting actor meant to enhance fries or a burger. It was never meant to be the main event. Apparently, no one told the guy who holds the record for drinking an entire bottle of it in just over 17 seconds. No food, no chaser, just a pure, unadulterated torrent of sugary tomato paste. This isn't about a love for tomatoes. This is a declaration of war on his own digestive system. I can only imagine the conversation his stomach had with his esophagus later that day. It probably involved a lot of screaming and regret. That's not a record. That's a cry for help. 5. Ski boots are universally recognized as concrete blocks designed to immobilize human feet. They are a necessary evil for sliding down a mountain. An American athlete, however, looked at these instruments of torture and thought, you know what these are perfect for? A 1-mile sprint. He didn't just run. He performed a 20-minute symphony of agonizing, shin-splintering clomps on solid ground. This feat didn't just break a world record. It broke every known rule of podiatry and common sense. Physical therapists across the nation likely felt a shiver down their spine and didn't even know why. 6. In the world of Guinness records, there exists a fierce, unspoken rivalry centered entirely on socks and feet. On one side, you have a man who can remove 36 socks using only his other foot in 30 seconds, a master of podiatric liberation. On the other side, a man who can put on 52 socks onto a single foot in the same amount of time, a titan of textile imprisonment. This isn't just a collection of weird talents. It's the yin and yang of pointless foot dexterity. One fights for freedom and breathable toes, the other for suffocating fabric-induced chaos. Somewhere, a podiatrist is watching this and preparing a business plan. 7. Martial arts is all about discipline and control. You break a stack of boards, you look like a warrior. But what happens when you add a mandatory, completely unrelated side quest to that act of destruction? One American holds the record for breaking the most concrete blocks, while holding a single, completely unprotected raw egg in the same hand. This is a level of precision that is frankly unnecessary. He's not just a martial artist. He's a human shock absorber. That one terrified egg must have been going through a profound existential crisis, inches away from total annihilation. The line between world-class athlete and a guy making a terrible omelet on his own knuckles is terrifyingly thin here. He didn't just break concrete, he broke the very idea that a task has to make any logical sense whatsoever. 8. Some people collect stamps. Others collect coins. And one man from Oregon dedicated 50 years of his life to collecting his own belly button lint. You read that correctly. For half a century, he meticulously harvested and saved the fluff from his navel, eventually amassing a collection large enough to fill several jars. At what point does a quirky habit become your life's work? Did he ever sit back, gaze upon his lint empire, and think, "This is my legacy"? It's a testament to human perseverance, I guess, but it also makes you wonder if some hobbies should probably just stay hobbies and stay in the trash. 9. Some men go to the gym to prove their strength. Others grow a beard. And then there's the American who decided to combine the two by pulling an airplane with his facial hair. This isn't just a world record, it's the final boss fight in the war against shaving. His beard isn't just a fashion statement, it's a load-bearing follicular powerhouse. While most beards struggle to hold a few lunch crumbs, his is out here challenging the laws of physics and making heavy machinery look weak. Somewhere, the entire board of Gillette is watching this footage and collectively weeping into their profit reports. 10. This isn't breakfast. It's a hostage negotiation with salmonella. One man holds the record for swallowing 3 raw eggs in under 6 seconds. He didn't chew, he didn't savor. He simply unhinged his jaw and let gravity and questionable life choices do the rest. This is a level of food consumption that borders on aggression. He didn't eat the eggs, he vanquished them. Most of us take longer than 6 seconds just to decide which mug to use for our coffee. This guy performed a full magic trick on his digestive system, and the only prize was a world record and a lifetime of being that egg guy. 11. When you think of world records, you probably don't picture a man trying to impersonate a porcupine from the inside out. But one American did just that by stuffing 264 drinking straws into his mouth without using his hands. He wasn't preparing to drink the world's largest milkshake. This was purely an exercise in oral capacity. He must have looked like a bizarre plastic sea anemone. This is a skill with absolutely zero practical application, unless you're trying to single-handedly solve the plastic waste problem by storing it all in your face. A nearby turtle is probably watching this with a deep sense of confusion and betrayal. 12. We're not talking about a cute dorm room mini fridge. We're talking about a full-sized, you keep the beer and frozen pizzas in it refrigerator. A man strapped one to his back and ran a full marathon. Every punishing step was a testament to his sheer hatred for his own skeletal structure. His knees didn't just hurt. They were likely drafting a formal declaration of secession from the rest of his body. This isn't just an athletic achievement. It's what happens when a person loses a bet with a god and is forced to endure a truly Herculean and deeply stupid punishment. 13. Most of us have engaged in a brief, pathetic struggle with a soda can that refuses to open. One man, however, has a more aggressive relationship with aluminum. He holds the record for crushing 77 cans by hand in 1 minute. That's more than 1 can per second. This isn't just recycling. It's a deeply personal vendetta against the entire beverage container industry. The sheer, relentless violence of it is impressive. While the rest of us are fumbling with pull tabs, this guy is conducting a one-man demolition derby in the palm of his hand. His grip strength isn't just high, it's a registered weapon. 14. Crushing 150 eggs with your foot in 1 minute is a very specific kind of talent. It requires a delicate balance of speed, precision, and a complete disregard for the concept of breakfast. This isn't just stomping, it's a high-speed ballet of destruction. Imagine the crime scene afterward. The janitor who had to clean up that yolky, shell-flecked apocalypse deserves their own record for emotional fortitude. Somewhere, a flock of chickens saw the news report, and a cold, silent understanding passed between them. It wasn't about the record, it was a message. 15. Thanksgiving dinner is a time for tradition, family, and arguing about politics. It is not, traditionally, a time for power tools. But one man decided the carving knife was an obsolete piece of technology and opted for a chainsaw to carve his turkey. He did it in 9-12 seconds. The result was less a beautifully plated meal and more a poultry explosion. You have to admire the efficiency, even as you're picking turkey shrapnel out of the ceiling. Somewhere, a Norman Rockwell painting is bursting into flames out of pure, horrified offense. This is what happens when a lumberjack is left in charge of the holiday feast. 16. We've all had moments where we wanted to escape the world. But climbing inside a running washing machine for a full hour is a solution that raises more questions than it answers. One person did just that, setting a record for endurance in a spin cycle. What do you even think about for 60 minutes while being sloshed around in a cold metal drum? Was it a profound meditative experience, or just an hour of dizzying regret? The true hero here is the laundromat employee who had to explain to their manager why one of the machines was occupied by a human being instead of a load of delicates. 17. Many of us are proud of our ability to binge watch a series over a weekend. That's amateur hour. The world record for continuous television watching is 124 hours. That is over 5 solid days of staring at a screen without sleep. By day 3, his brain must have been the consistency of warm pudding. By day 5, he probably achieved a higher state of consciousness where he could communicate directly with the Netflix algorithm. While I can't finish a movie without checking my phone 12 times, this guy essentially fused with his couch and became a living, breathing content absorption unit. 18. Some people enjoy a cool breeze. Others take it a little too far. The record for the longest time spent in full-body contact with ice is 3 hours and 44 minutes. This isn't a challenge. It's a slow, deliberate attempt to see if you can become a statue. Every survival instinct in your body is screaming at you to get away. But for the sake of the record, you just lie there and let hypothermia introduce itself. I put on a sweater when the air conditioning gets too aggressive. This man willingly turned himself into a human ice cube tray for longer than it takes to watch The Godfather. 19. A man once decided to abandon his bipedal limitations and run on all fours for 4 consecutive hours. At a certain point, this stops being a world record attempt and starts looking like the origin story for a very confused werewolf. You have to wonder what was going through his head around hour 3. Was he still thinking about the finish line? Or was he more concerned with chasing squirrels and sniffing interesting trees? The real question is how the officials greeted him when he finished. Did they shake his hand? Or did they just pat him on the head and say, "Good boy"? 20. Most people hug a loved one for a few seconds. A man in the US decided to show his affection for a tree for 16 consecutive hours. This wasn't a quick embrace. This was a long-term relationship. You have to wonder about the conversations that took place. Did he confess his deepest fears to the bark? Did the tree offer silent, woody advice? By hour 12, even the most patient squirrel must have been like, "All right, man, we get it, you're a nature lover. Can I get to my nuts now?" The real question is, at what point did the tree start to feel like it was the one being held hostage? 21. Someone once looked at a bathtub, then looked at a mountain of spaghetti, and had a terrible, brilliant idea. A man spent 24 hours sitting in a tub full of cooked pasta. For an entire day, he marinated himself in what was once a perfectly good dinner for 100 people. Did the water get cold and starchy? Absolutely. Did he question every choice that led him there? Probably around hour 6. Somewhere in Italy, a nonna felt a great disturbance in the force, as if millions of strands of pasta suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. This is less of a record and more of a cry for help written in carbohydrates. 22. In just under 2 minutes, one person can completely mummify another human being in cling film. Let's not focus on the speed. Let's focus on the volunteer. Someone willingly stood still while they were systematically transformed into a life-sized, non-biodegradable burrito. What do you say to your friends? "Yeah, I can't hang out tonight. I'm getting wrapped in plastic for a shot at immortality in a book." This isn't just a world record. It's the physical embodiment of every bad decision you've ever made, wrapped up tightly so you can't escape the consequences. Or, breathe. 23. Most of us consider it a success if we can sit on a Swiss ball for more than 30 seconds without ending up on the floor with a concussion. An American athlete looked at that challenge and said, "Hold my protein shake." He then proceeded to balance on one for 4 hours straight while juggling. This isn't just core strength. This is a man actively mocking the laws of physics. One wrong move, one sneeze, and the whole operation comes crashing down in a heap of failure and flailing limbs. Gravity didn't even try to fight him. It just stood back, crossed its arms, and muttered, "Show off." 24. There are useful life skills, and then there's the ability to put on 10 surgical gloves in 12.9 seconds. This isn't just being prepared for a medical emergency. This is a level of frantic efficiency that borders on insanity. Why would anyone practice this? Is he the world's most paranoid germaphobe? Or is he preparing for a career as a magician who specializes in uncomfortably sterile tricks? You have to wonder if he carries a box of gloves with him at all times, just waiting for someone to challenge him to a duel of digital dexterity at a dinner party. 25. Walking 80 miles is an incredible feat of endurance, but doing it while balancing a full glass milk bottle on your head transforms it from an athletic achievement into a work of absurdist performance art. For days, this man's entire universe was reduced to the delicate balance between his scalp and a pint of dairy. By mile 50, he probably wasn't even walking anymore. He had achieved a higher state of being where he and the bottle were one. Somewhere, a cat watched him pass by, then deliberately pushed a glass off a counter, just to remind the universe who's really in charge of pointless acts of gravitational defiance. 26. Imagine a breakfast diner where the short order cook is a world record holder. The record for most eggs cracked with a single hand in 1 minute is 32. This isn't cooking, it's a high-speed demolition of breakfast. The sound must be a terrifying symphony of sharp cracks and splattering yolk. There's no finesse here, just brutal, shell-shattering efficiency. You wouldn't ask this person for a sunny side-up egg. You'd just point to a carton and hope for the best. The kitchen floor after this attempt must have looked like the aftermath of a poultry-themed battle royal. 27. The fastest time to duct tape a person to a wall is 41.66 seconds. We have to ask, how does one discover they have this particular talent? This isn't a skill you learn at a trade school. This is a skill born out of necessity during a college prank gone horribly right. It implies a long and storied history of immobilizing unwilling participants with industrial-strength adhesive. The record holder isn't just an athlete. They are a seasoned artist whose medium is silver tape and whose canvas is their very surprised friend, Dave. 28. Most people use maple syrup as a topping. One man decided to use it as a beverage. He drank an entire bottle in 10.84 seconds. That's not a treat. That's a speed run to a diabetic coma. His bloodstream must have gone from carrying oxygen to carrying pure, unadulterated sugar. The pancreas probably just put in its 2 weeks' notice on the spot. Somewhere, a stack of pancakes is sitting on a plate, feeling naked, violated, and deeply betrayed. This man doesn't just enjoy breakfast, he dominates it. 29. When you hear yo-yo, you think of a small toy. You do not think of an 11-foot-tall, 256-pound behemoth that requires a crane to operate. Yes, the world's largest functioning yo-yo is the size of a small car. This isn't something you do walk the dog with. This is something you use to test a city's emergency alert system. The sheer destructive potential is mind-boggling. One around-the-world trick could take out a power line and 3 parked cars. This isn't a toy. It's a beautiful, terrifying liability with a string attached. 30. A playground swing set is a symbol of carefree childhood joy. But if you sit on one for 24 hours straight, it becomes an instrument of existential torture. An American did just that, enduring a full day of repetitive motion. The first hour was probably nostalgic. By hour 15, He was likely having deep, philosophical conversations with the pigeons about the cyclical nature of life and suffering. The record isn't for swinging, it's for withstanding the profound motion sickness and butt-numbing agony that only a 24-hour playground marathon can provide. 31. There's a difference between patience and a complete shutdown of one's will to live. A man proved this by officially watching paint dry for 72 hours. For 3 entire days, his sole purpose was to stare at a wall as it transitioned from wet to not wet. He could have learned a language or flown to another continent in that time. Instead, he chose to enter a staring contest with a freshly painted surface, and he won. Even the paint must have felt awkward under that much scrutiny. This isn't just a record, it's the longest, most boring psychological thriller ever documented. 32. Some people pull cars with their brute strength. One American decided to use a body part known primarily for its ability to hold sunglasses: his ears. He holds a record for pulling a car with his earlobes. My ears get sore after wearing headphones for an hour, and this guy is out here treating his cartilage like a tow hitch. You have to wonder what his hearing is like now. He probably can't hear you asking for the time, but he can definitely hear the sound of his own ligaments, screaming for mercy. His ears didn't just break a record, they filed for divorce from the rest of his head. 33. Some people set records for balancing small objects on their head while walking. A milk bottle, maybe a book. It's impressive. But one American decided to skip the small stuff and go straight for the absurd. He walked an entire mile balancing an object on his head. Not a plate, not a brick, a full, 4-legged wooden dining room chair. At that point, your neck isn't a body part anymore. It's a piece of load-bearing architecture with a death wish. You have to wonder if he offered it a seat when he was done. 34. For 5 hours, a man sat and bounced a ping-pong ball on a spoon held in his mouth. Let's break that down. It requires the jaw strength of a crocodile, the patience of a saint, and the kind of intense focus usually reserved for bomb disposal experts. After the first hour, his jaw must have been begging for a truce. After the third, he probably forgot what it was like to not have a piece of silverware clenched between his teeth. This isn't just a world record. It's a 5-hour argument with physics where the human jaw somehow, inexplicably, wins. 35. Most people use a treadmill to get some exercise, maybe burn off last night's pizza. Then there's the guy who used one to walk backward into a different dimension of suffering for 16 straight hours. That's a full day of moonwalking toward a mental breakdown. Imagine the psychological landscape at hour 13. The world is moving toward you, but you're constantly retreating from it. It's not just exercise, it's a metaphor for avoiding your responsibilities. While he's mastering reverse locomotion, I'm over here tripping over my own feet walking forward to the fridge. 36. This isn't a snack, it's a 17-second war against physics. The record for eating a jar of peanut butter is just over 17 seconds. This man didn't consume it. He inhaled a substance specifically designed to glue your mouth shut permanently. Imagine your entire throat coated in a thick, oily cement that actively fights back. There's no liquid to help it down. It's a battle of pure willpower against the world's most delicious adhesive. His reward wasn't just a record. It was the inability to speak or swallow properly for the rest of the day. 37. Running a marathon is an achievement. Running a marathon while dressed as a 14th century knight is a cry for help. One man completed all 26.2 miles encased in a full suit of medieval armor. Every step must have been a symphony of clanking, chafing, and deep, profound regret. Forget hitting the wall, this guy was wearing one. What was the motivation here? Was he racing to defend a castle from a siege? Or did he just want to experience the unique agony of joint pain combined with heat stroke and the constant smell of his own metallic sweat? 38. The record for most slices of pizza eaten in 1 minute is 19. Let's be clear, he did not eat the pizza. He unmade it with his mouth. This is a speed that defies the very nature of chewing and swallowing. It's less of a culinary experience and more of a controlled demolition of what was once a perfectly good pie. Each slice had an average lifespan of about 3 seconds before being absorbed into the human singularity. His digestive system didn't even try to process it. It likely just sighed, draped a tiny white flag over his stomach lining, and surrendered unconditionally. 39. A roller coaster is fun for about 90 seconds. One man decided to extend that fun for 36 consecutive hours. After the first few rides, the adrenaline is gone. After a few hours, the joy is replaced by a deep, throbbing headache. By hour 24, he probably wasn't even human anymore. He had likely merged with the coaster itself, his screams of terror turning into the rhythmic clack of the chain lift. This isn't a record for endurance. It's a record for the longest time someone has willingly subjected themselves to a state-sanctioned, gravity-based torture device. 40. Someone looked at a rubber band and thought, "I need more of this." The result is the world's largest rubber band ball, weighing a staggering 9,032 pounds. That's heavier than a rhinoceros. This isn't a hobby, it's a dormant natural disaster waiting for a slight incline. The amount of stored kinetic energy in that thing could probably level a small town. Imagine trying to explain that to your insurance agent. So, the damage was caused by a colossal sphere of office supplies? It's a monument to taking a simple idea to its most illogical and terrifying conclusion. 41. They say lightning never strikes the same place twice. They clearly never met Roy Sullivan, a park ranger who was struck by lightning on 7 separate occasions and survived them all. After the 3rd time, you'd think he'd start taking it personally. By the 5th, he probably just saw storm clouds gathering and sighed. Well, looks like it's that time of the month again. He wasn't just unlucky. He was in a one-sided, deeply abusive relationship with the sky. Mother Nature clearly had a personal vendetta against this man, and she was not subtle about it. 42. A raw onion is something you add to a dish for flavor, not something you consume like an apple. But one man did just that, devouring one in 29.56 seconds. This is an act of aggression against one's own senses. His taste buds probably just packed their bags and retired on the spot. And his breath for the next 72 hours? It wasn't just bad, it was likely classified as a hazardous material by the Environmental Protection Agency. He didn't just break a record, he broke every social contract about personal space for the foreseeable future. 43. The record for the longest time spent sitting on a toilet is 116 hours. That's nearly 5 days. To be clear, he wasn't using it for its intended purpose. He was just sitting there. He became a temporary fixture, a human extension of the bathroom. At some point, he must have transcended boredom and entered a state of porcelain-based enlightenment. What deep truths did he uncover in the silent, tiled solitude of that room? We may never know, but you have to imagine that by day 4, even the toilet itself was starting to feel emotionally burdened by his presence. 44. Most people consume lettuce as part of a balanced salad. One man decided to treat a whole head of it like a speed-eating challenge, finishing it in 1 minute and 31 seconds. This is the kind of thing you'd expect to see a rabbit do if it were late for a very important meeting. It's not a meal, it's a war on roughage. The sheer volume of chewing required is staggering. While the rest of us are carefully forking our greens, this guy is out here treating the produce aisle like an all-you-can-eat buffet with a very aggressive time limit. 45. 2 men decided to set the world record for the fastest human wheelbarrow, where one person walks on their hands while the other holds their legs. This isn't just an athletic feat, it's a profound statement about trust and a complete disregard for the structural integrity of one's own wrists. Imagine the training. Okay, Steve, today we're going to work on your cornering. Try not to collapse and shatter my teeth this time. It's a record that perfectly blends physical agony with the potential for catastrophic friendship-ending failure at any second. 46. Someone dedicated a significant portion of their life to stacking 500,000 pennies into a single majestic tower. It's a monument to patience, precision, and having way too much spare change. Imagine the final moment. Placing that last coin, stepping back to admire your $5,000 creation of copper and zinc. And then, a gentle breeze from an open window, a slight tremor from a passing truck, and the entire thing collapses into a worthless, noisy pile. That's not just a failed record attempt. That's the universe delivering a very expensive lesson in humility. 47. Some people go to a spa to relax. One man chose to spend over 2 hours meditating in a commercial freezer. No coat, no survival gear, just him and his thoughts, surrounded by boxes of frozen fish sticks and tubs of forgotten ice cream. What do you even think about in that situation? At some point, the existential dread must get colder than the air itself. He wasn't just battling hypothermia. He was in a staring contest with a bag of frozen peas for 2 hours, and I'm pretty sure the peas won. 48. A plank is an exercise where every second feels like a year. The world record for holding one is 9 hours, 30 minutes, and 1 second. Let that sink in. This man held a position of pure muscular agony for longer than a full night's sleep. His core isn't made of muscle, it's forged from some kind of collapsed star material. Most people's abs would have filed for divorce and left their body around the 5-minute mark. My muscles start to cramp just thinking about getting out of bed, and this guy basically took a full work shift in the most uncomfortable position imaginable. 49. The longest a human has held their breath underwater is 24 minutes and 37 seconds. This is not a human being. This is a land-based fish that has learned to blend in with society. There is no other explanation. While I start to see stars if I hold my breath walking up a flight of stairs, this person is casually chilling at the bottom of a pool for nearly half an hour. He's not just breaking a record, he's actively defying his own biology. At some point, his lungs must have just given up and decided to evolve into gills on the spot. And that completes our tour of 49 masterclasses in poor judgment. But the Museum of Human Absurdity always has room for one more exhibit, and that's spot number 50. You are now the curator. Go to the comments and tell us the most ridiculous world record, real or imagined, that you think deserves to be on this list. If you enjoyed this deep dive into questionable life choices, you know what to do with the buttons below. It proves this specific brand of insanity is appreciated.